Last week, when news that Caribbean Airlines and Jamaica Public Service had plans to lay off workers, everyone was very concerned. Unemployment is one of the main challenges we face as a society. But with a changing world, shrinking economies, and organizations being forced to be more cost efficient in their operations, downsizing and layoffs seems inevitable. Should we as individuals therefore broaden our horizons and perspectives when contemplating our living and earning options? I'm Herman Green, and today we tackle the matter of unemployment and the options available to empower Jamaicans, not just for employment in Jamaica, but in a global market. Call your friends, your high school graduates, your brethren upon the corner. This is Matters Arising on JNN. We hear the cries every day, not now gone, university graduates unable to find employment, and just a general feel of desperation. We can't accept that this hopelessness is the future of Jamaica, so Matters Arising decided to probe into the options that are out there. We found that there are opportunities available with programs and systems to provide support. There are no quick fixes, but there are options. Now, let's first look at some of the problems that stop some of us from being employed. We visited the University of Technology and spoke with Dr. Rosalie Hamilton, Professor on Entrepreneurship and Development, to hear her professional view of this problem in Jamaica.
Major problem is inadequate capacity. The data tells us that more than 70% of our labor force have not passed exams. It's a telling piece of statistic because increasingly the demands of the global environment is such that, you have to be on the cutting edge and you have to be able to use high-tech technologies and information and access to information. You have to know how to use the computers, go on the internet and so on as part of your job.
Lack of training is a major stumbling block for many Jamaicans. Now, I know a large number of university graduates will disagree because they too are affected and frustrated with the apparent lack of opportunities. We will address it on that level shortly. But let's start with this level, with individuals who are simply not sufficiently qualified or trained to be employed. For almost 3 decades, Jamaica has had a national training program that is available to all Jamaicans. This training program provides practical hands-on training in a variety of professional fields such as construction or entertainment. The institution, the Heart Trust NTA. Heart Trust was established in 1983 with the sole mission of training Jamaicans for employment. In addition to providing courses in some 500 different areas, the Level 1 training is free.
All right, there are several different modalities of getting involved with the Heart programs. First of all, we have officers that go out to several different communities for that they have career fairs, they have things that churches ask us to come to, or some of the government agencies ask us to be a part of of career fairs. So the officers will go to that. We have the Montego Bay office, you have the St. Anne's Bay office, you have the Kingston office at Ripon Road, and you have the Mandeville office.
Regional offices, she explained, are further supported by sub-offices in Savlamar, Spanish Town, Maypen, and a number of other parish capitals island-wide, which makes this national training program available to everybody, everywhere across the island. Now, what are the programs that are offered through Heart? In speaking with Dr. Hayle, we came to realize that Heart has a training program to prepare workers for almost any field that you could possibly be interested in.
Heart has a myriad of programs, but what we're trying to do is align our programs with the 2030 vision, and there are 9 sectors within the 2030 vision. We have agriculture, tourism, sports, creative industries, mining and quarrying, manufacturing, hospitality, and the Runway Bay program. And of course, there is now beauty services, which was cosmetology, beauty services, spa management, agriculture, construction, engineering at NTA, welding at Breadnut Valley, garments, where we're doing a lot with the creative industries and fashion, and as well as there is Stony Hill Trading Services. Those are the big ones. And then we have a number of satellite centers that support the work that the bigger ones do, and they specialize in other areas, automotive, aviation. Oh, there's so many.
The point that we're making here is there is no reason that any Jamaican should be untrained or without a skill. If you have an interest in any field, for instance, construction, the first step is to be officially trained, then you can take it to the world, literally. After this break, we'll delve into the opportunities that are already open to skilled workers in numerous fields throughout the Caribbean. Stay with us. Matters Arising will be right back. Welcome back to Matters Arising. If you're just joining us, today's matter is the issue of unemployment. This time, however, we're looking at ways in which Jamaicans can empower themselves and so broaden their earning options and power. We looked at the level of individuals who are untrained, those without a skill, and we've identified or reminded this group that the almost 30 years running Heart Trust NTA provides training for all Jamaicans. If you don't have a skill, go talk to them, get a skill. Okay, after we get a skill, what opportunities are now available? Already I can hear the cries. No jobs are available in Jamaica. People are getting laid off every day. Listen, gone are the days of seeking jobs in your hometown or in your current parish or even in your own country. We have heard of the CARICOM Single Market Economy, CSME, for years, right? This allows skilled workers to move freely throughout CARICOM. Well, it's time to explore and make this work for you. We spoke to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Kenneth Barr, and he reminded us that the CSME has been available to us for almost 50 years.
In the 60s, this is when it happened. Jamaica was a growing country. We were one of the highest growing economies of the world. Bauxite, sugar, tourism, bananas were all performing and growing year by year. And there was a lot of manufacturing under the leadership of the then Minister of Industry and Commerce, which was really exceptional. So Jamaica was prepared. Whereas Jamaica exports to the Caribbean exceeded our imports before CARIFTA. Once we joined CARIFTA, over the years, progressively, except for about 9 years over that period of time up until now, we experienced a negative balance in trading with the Caribbean.
So, according to the CSME agreement, trained, as in hard trained, and certified individuals are allowed to move freely, that is without a work permit, to any CARICOM member country to work.
The membership in CARICOM, in CARIFTA, that has progressed through to become CARICOM, the Caribbean Single Market, but also the CSME, which is further down the road. But that participation is helping us to overcome some of the disadvantages that we have.
The fact of the matter is that this freedom of movement has been available to us Jamaicans for years, once we have the training and the certification, that is. We know that the training is available. Now let's look at how we go about getting the certification that is needed to make CARICOM serve us.
Heart does the delivery. We actually train you, and we link with the school system to make sure that you get all of the skills that you need at an international level. We're working with CXC as well, because you will find now that your SBAs come September will also translate into CVQJ. Now the CVQJ is the vehicle that CARICOM is using to allow us to move from one country to the other. And it is the certification piece. That's where NCTVET comes in. So Heart, as a national training agency, we coordinate all of the training in Jamaica, whether it is training in schools, or it's training by the providers, or it's training by us. We coordinate all training, and NCTVET, our sister arm, they coordinate the certification and accreditation of the programs. And the two together will allow you to be able to work through the region with your CVQs.
Okay, so let's look at a particular professional field. For example, construction. We asked Dr. Hayle to walk us through how Heart and the NCTVET can help an individual who has an interest in that career path to utilize CARICOM and the CSME.
Construction is a very good one to start with, because within the field of, like, say, masonry, for example, if my memory serves me correctly, there are, say, 36 units that you would have to complete, units of training that you'd have to complete, which would include math and English. But don't worry, math and English related to your particular level of learning that you complete in order to be certified as a mason. But within that category, within about 4 to 7 clusters of units. Those are put together in what's called job-related areas. So you may have somebody who can render. They can actually assess what you have done in that area, and you will get what you call a certificate of job-related competencies. You are not certified as a mason. You're on your way to being a mason, but you will get a certificate that will tell us that you are a competent renderer. And then you move, after you've got your qualification, your NVQJ qualification as a mason, which is the National Vocational Qualification of Jamaica, as a mason, we can also then give you an equivalent qualification, which is the CVQ, the Caribbean Vocational Qualification, and that is a critical one as well, because that allows you to move throughout the Caribbean. That is what CARICOM is pushing for.
This idea of utilizing opportunities within CARICOM is not new, and we are not saying it's by any means easy. Over the years, the relationship between Jamaica and other countries in the Caribbean have had some rough times. We have had issues between ourselves and Trinidad and Tobago, and even recently, serious issues between Barbados and Jamaica have come up.
Yeah, Jamaica has been more than forthright and foremost in implementing all the measures to fulfill our obligations within the Caribbean single market and economy, especially in respect of the movement of skills, of persons. The CARICOM is to become a single space. The Caribbean single market is a single domestic space, which requires the free movement of labor, the free movement of capital, the free movement of services and skills. And if there's any obstruction to that, then obviously it is not working efficiently.
In light of these and other problems between ourselves and other CARICOM countries, we decided to assess the record of the number of Jamaicans who have entered other countries compared to other CARICOM members who have come here. Dr. Baugh had this to say.
There's a chart here which reviews the total free movement of skills between 1996 and 2008, and it shows that Jamaica issued a total of 1,393 skills certificates or received from other countries, whereas Trinidad and Tobago did 1,685, a little bit more than Jamaica. In terms of those being rejected, I don't really have that number. It's not very much, it's not really significant. But there is a movement that is taking place, and the recent amendment to the Foreign Nationals and Commonwealth Citizens Act is going to facilitate that movement in Jamaica. And we are satisfied, having done a review of the CSME, we are satisfied that countries are complying with the CSME.
This means that as Jamaicans, once we are trained as a skilled professional and we acquire the necessary certification that CARICOM countries recognize, we are free to seek employment in other Caribbean countries. And this is not just for construction. Areas such as cosmetology, catering, entertainment, any field in which you have an interest.
Let me give you an example of the entertainment industry. The tourism industry, for example, some work was done by the University of West Indies some years ago that indicated, we wanted to find out at the time, what were the factors that drive people to come to a destination, to a hotel bed. They want to know, why do you come to hotels? And interestingly, we discovered, it was Ramji Singh and Alan Wright who did that work. They discovered that it was events that drive people to a destination. Rebel Salute, Sumfest, and Jazz and Blues. Those are deliberate strategies, as well as Reggae Marathon and Calabash, when we had Calabash, but we're promoting other literary festivals like that. Those are very deliberate because behind those key drivers are several industries and the supply chain that feeds that. For example, when you have Jazz and Blues, 1,100 people work on the set, on that whole venue before it is actually staged. So you see the level of employment. And it's not just for the promoter of the event, but it is the light man, the sound man, the groundskeeper, the vendors who are putting up their booths. So the construction industry is working because they have to construct all of those booths. You have the health people who have to make sure that the sanitation is up to snuff. You have the security people. So there are thousands of players that actually put that stage together, that venue together before the actual event is hosted. Then when the event is actually hosted, you have the musicians, you have the sound man, you have the lightman, you have people like Phase 3 production and all that they bring to the table. So if you look backwards and you link that to what you learn in school, those subjects actually lead you now to careers in those areas. So what we have done at Heart Trust, if you follow that trend of argument, you go from high school, you can either come into Heart Trust to do your skill areas in any of those skills that you like.
We're up to our final break here on Matters Arising. When we return, we will explore the curriculum options that are open to certified individuals, including university graduates, both to seek employment and also to create your own jobs. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We'll be back after this break.
Rise to the occasion, look at yourself and say you're strong. No one can stop you, oh yeah. Rise to
Welcome back to Matters Arising. Today's matter is the issue of unemployment and Jamaicans. We've heard that a large number of Jamaicans are without a skill and that this is a major factor contributing to unemployment. We spoke to Dr. Carolyn Hayle of the Heart Trust NTA, and she explained that being trained by the National Training Program and being certified by the NCT VET right here in Jamaica equips Jamaicans to seek employment throughout the Caribbean. Minister Kenneth Baugh explained that the CSME agreement has opened CARICOM to Jamaicans for the past 50 years. Now, this open market is not only open for us to seek employment, it also allows for the creation of new business ventures, yes, entrepreneurship, throughout CARICOM. In an effort to better open our eyes to the concept of being entrepreneurs, Dr. Rosalie Hamilton, Professor of Entrepreneurship and Development at UTech, explored the concept with us.
For decades, scholars have been trying to grapple with this concept, and there are a range of definitions. The one I like is the idea that entrepreneurs are creating and exploiting opportunities. In fact, one scholar thinks about it as exploiting opportunities without regard to the resources you have under your control. And it speaks to the fact that, whatever resources you have available, you need to exploit it.
No, because in Jamaica, for decades, we have ingested this policy of going to school and then getting a good job. Dr. Hamilton explained that we now have a challenge creating this paradigm shift from the ideology of seeking employment to creating our own.
Well, it is changing. That's very important, because I think increasingly individuals are recognizing that you can't just sit back and wait for a job. That increasingly the change in economic environment is such that people have to be creative and start to think about creating their own sources of income. So the economic environment is forcing that change in attitude, where you can't just, go to school and expect to land a job at the end of the day. So that is changing, and I think it's changing for the good, because it's also forcing individuals who have jobs to think about being entrepreneurial in their jobs. You have to be creative and innovative in order to add value to the jobs that you have.
And again, Dr. Baugh reminds us that the freedom that exists because of the CSME actually broadens the horizon and creates a regional playing field for us to exercise this entrepreneurial skill.
This is where we are weak. And I don't think that we're taking advantage of the opportunities that exist. The mainland countries like Suriname, Guyana, Belize have a lot of opportunities because they're underpopulated, have a lot of land, and have a lot of resources. And invitations have been issued by President Jagdo himself and my colleague minister in Belize to inquire as to why more Jamaicans are not taking advantage of the opportunities and the resources that are available in those countries. Many, many years ago, some Jamaicans went to Belize and started the citrus industry over there. And now Belize produces more juice concentrate than we produce in citrus.
Of course, the process of starting a new business venture is not simple, and doing so in a foreign country is even more challenging. But as we said before, this is an option, a channel, an opportunity that is open for us that we should most definitely explore. The fact is, there are some resources that may be available in other countries that may not be available here in Jamaica. We just have to be aware that the scope is now much, much wider. As an expert on international trade, Dr. Hamilton has some advice for persons who want to consider this option.
Well, first of all, don't think about giving up. This is a tough environment and it's very difficult, and I know many people would have left school and have been finding it difficult to find jobs. I think the first thing to do is to recognize that the market that you're in wants you to add value. Just have that in your head. Nobody is in the market trying to give you a salary, which is what most people want. A salary, and I say this to young people, think about volunteering your service. Right? Just volunteer your service to open that door, to have a foot in the door of any business. Don't go for a job, just go to contribute. And once you're there and your employers see that you can add value, then it's a no-brainer. They'll want to keep you. Of course, alternatively, if you can't find that job, then you really have to think about creating your own business. And to think about finding a job and creating your own business, not only in Jamaica, but really explore the Caribbean region. Exploit the opportunities for free movement of people.
And Dr. Hayle told us of a number of heart trainees who have also moved on to great things internationally.
Now, there are a number of people who have benefited from world skills. We have, for example, Brian Lumley, a young fellow who went to JC and decided he did not want to go the traditional route of lawyer, doctor, engineer. He had a passion for food. And luckily, he had parents who agreed with him and allowed him to go to Runway Bay, where he honed his craft. He is now the personal executive chef to the French ambassador. Then there is another young man, one of his contemporaries, who is working, I think he is also a personal chef to the deputy, to the U.S. charge. And also there's a gentleman called Carl Thomas who is well known in the industry as an executive chef. There is also Oji Jaja, who has his own business based on Jamaican cuisine. In the area of beauty services, we have our own Sasha Moy Batik. And Sasha Moy, she competed in Brazil, where she won in the Hemispheric World Skills Hemispheric in March of last year. She won a gold medal. Sasha Moy goes on to Australia in July of this year to compete in their national competition, and then she goes on to London in October, where she will compete internationally in the World Skills International in the area of hairstyling. Then there are a number of other people. There's another gentleman called Brian Moresby, who is now working with us in IT here at Hart. And there's another young miss, again beauty services, Aliyah Wedderburn, who also teaches the skill area for us. So these areas have really, and these opportunities have opened the world to many of these youngsters. Sasha Moy, again, take Sasha Moy for example. Sasha Moy is from Sandy Bay in Clarendon. And Sasha Moy will tell you that it never entered her mind when she was in Clarendon that she would be all over the world. Simply because she has a talent for beauty services, and she has honed that talent, and she's now one of the best in the world. And that was her dream.
The advice from us here at Matters Arising: whatever your passion is, find a way to get the training and certification so you can earn from it. Do what you love, and the world will love you for it. And if you're thinking of starting your own venture, Dr. Hamilton has a bit of advice again.
Well, I would say the first thing someone should do if you want to go into business is to get help. Don't think that you have to do everything by yourself. So I would start by finding people who can help. People who could help to make sure your accounts and your cash flow and your whole business plan is in the shape that it needs to be in order to give you a good sense of whether this business is viable. That's a very important, perhaps the first place to start. Set up a financial cash flow, see how much money you need to get this thing going, and do your analysis, do all kinds of scenario analysis to ensure that down the road this thing can be viable. And look at your assumptions very, very carefully. But talk to people. Once you have this on paper,